Tre'Quan Smith could miss week one for the New Orleans Saints. And should we start to be a little bit worried about Kendre Miller and his health issues? Let's talk about that right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. It's your host, Chris Vogel. And as always, this program is brought to you by Scott Fickner Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, or hurt offshore, Scott Fickner handles it all. You can give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. Now, if the Saints are going to fight for the win next Sunday, probably going to have to do without Tre'Quan Smith, and they may have to do without Kendre Miller. Let's talk about those, but let's get to the first one, Tre'Quan Smith. I know he is not a fan favorite. I don't know if he's ever been a fan favorite, except when it's Monday night and Drew Brees had a record in sight. Then he is a fan favorite because you know he's going to ball out. But unfortunately, injuries are a recurring theme with him. And he's already missed the last two season openers for the Saints. And judging by the latest report from Jeff Duncan, he will miss a third. So it came out today from Jeff Duncan that the Saints are not expected to be at full strength because Tre'Quan Smith had surgery to repair a groin injury that happened in early August. That doesn't sound great. I'm not sure if this means we'll see him go on IR. I don't know what to make of it other than this is the same old song and dance with Tre'Quan. And I've been someone who has said for the last month, while everyone was ready to push him out the door with the 53-man roster, I kept saying, he's going to make it, guys. And I said it because I didn't want to get your hopes up, and I wanted to kind of let you down almost easy and be like, don't expect him to not make it. They like Tre'Quan. But this is where people get frustrated. It's the not being available. Because I think if you're just talking about him being healthy, Tre'Quan in the wide receiver 4 role, it works. Is it the most exciting thing in the world? No, but he's a really good blocker, catches a lot of contested receptions. That's where he kind of makes his money. That's his bread and butter. But he's never, ever healthy. And as you get older, these things just continue to pile up. If one year it's a shoulder, the next year it's a groin, then it's a hamstring. It doesn't just stop happening. As you continue to play in the NFL, injuries rack up because your body just starts to deteriorate. So I think for Tre'Quan, it seems like he's going to miss week one. Do I think it's going to be a huge loss for the Saints? I personally don't, because I think you're still going to have Olave, you're still going to have Shaheed, Michael Thomas, Juwan Johnson. You'll have Kirkwood. The Saints will have options. And I think at week one, especially in the passing game, this isn't a situation where you're like, oh, shit, like no Tre'Quan, what do we do here? But it definitely feels like we've reached that point with him where I don't know when he's going to be healthy. When he is healthy, again, the role's not going to be huge, but you don't really complain about that part. But are you going to be available for Sundays? Because right now, it looks like you're not available for any day. And that's a problem with the Saints. So Tre'Quan could miss week one. He's expected to as of right now. Another player who could miss week one, and this one is not a certainty. This one, I'd imagine we'll find out next week as practices continue to ramp up and we get very close to the opener. We're only 9 days away as of this Friday afternoon. Kendre Miller, rookie running back out of TCU, dealing with a hamstring injury. This is really frustrating, and I feel for him because we're talking about a player who's so talented. And last year, great season at TCU, just under 1,400 rushing yards, over 6 yards a carry. He was phenomenal. But we're talking about a player who since, I want to say December, has just been injury-riddled. Had the torn MCL against Michigan, so he missed the national championship. Comes back to New Orleans, doesn't really do much during minicamp. Training camp, he looks good, and then injures his knee in the preseason, week one. So that's not ideal. Comes back. We're all encouraged by that. And now the hamstring injury. So why does this keep happening? I think the smart approach is to say, look, when a guy's banged up, it's just common nature that you start kind of overcompensating for that said injury. And then because of it, other parts of your body are going to pay the price. Your knee starts to hurt. Maybe a little pressure is taken off the knee. Maybe too much pressure is put on the hammy. Things of that nature. It's all connected. It makes sense. For me, the timing stinks because this is the opportunity of a lifetime for this kid as a rookie. No Alvin. Get your chance to make an impact. And then when Alvin does come back, if you play well, the Saints are still going to think, shit, we got to find a way to get Kendre Miller the ball. But if he doesn't have that opportunity, that really, really hurts. And obviously it hurts the New Orleans Saints too, because then you have to go to the likes of practice squad players. And I don't speak for everyone, but I can tell you right now, I don't want to see Tony Jones Jr. week one running the football for the Saints. I just don't. Jamal Williams, sure. Taysom Hill, sure. And I would have loved to see Kendre Miller, but I don't know if he's going to play week one. Now, Should Saints fans be worried? I'm still going to say no. I think that we're talking about a rookie who was coming off an injury to begin with. And, him having a hamstring injury is not the end of the world. It's not something that makes me sell my Kendre Miller stock. I still think this kid's going to be a playmaker for the Saints. I love his potential. But it is frustrating, I would say, especially the timing of it, not being able to play in the season opener if that's what happens. And now New Orleans may have to go back to the running back market, look around. Obviously, we know, and it's no secret because they showed interest in him an awful lot this offseason, maybe Kareem Hunt, who still, by the way, is a free agent at this point. So I don't know what game he's playing. I know he's playing the waiting game, but running backs have come and gone over the last couple of weeks. Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott. It's not moving at this point. The market is what the market is. So maybe that's someone the Saints bring in after a second visit. Who knows? That's why if I'm trying to advise the fan base, do not panic. Best case scenario, this is a very minor injury for Kendre Miller. Worst case scenario, this is a nagging injury for a couple of weeks. They can bring in another body. But I will finish with this. When week 1 rolls around, late in games, you don't want to be in a spot where important carries are going to guys like Tony Jones Jr. because it's just not a recipe for success. It's not. So overall, still like where the Saints are at. This isn't a team that's like just bombarded with injuries like they usually are. Maybe that ends up happening. If that does, maybe I'll put my head through a wall. We'll see. But Tre'Quan probably missing week 1, and I would be kind of surprised if Kendre plays, but we'll see. They have about a week or so to figure it out. But that's going to wrap it up for this mini edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. As always, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page and stay tuned for more content. We'll have coverage throughout the week. Show on Monday, of course, and then we're going to be full throttle getting ready for this Titans game, which should be a doozy. So get ready for it, folks, and stay tuned for more content here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.